almost exactly 4 years since I made the two very first videos on this channel which were in English. And yeah, one of them was the first video where I talked about the coalition government of Katrín Jakobsdóttur. The coalition government of the Left Greens, the Progressive Party and the Independence Party. And allow me of course to remind you that the core ideologies of these two parties when it comes to the Independence Party are free market capitalism and conservatism, versus for the Left Greens it's Marxian feminism and democratic socialism. So yeah, naturally everybody was a very bit skeptic when this government first started operating in late 2017, and everybody said that this coalition is most likely gonna collapse quite soon because, yeah, the conservatives and the socialists are natural born enemies. Insert Willie from Simpsons meme here. However, here we are in the coalition's second year. Wow. Yeah. Imagine going back in time and telling people that. 180 milligrams of caffeine. How the fuck is this legal but amphetamine is not? Makes no sense. Now, unsurprisingly, most of the cabinet ministers from the first term are still in office, although many of them, in fact most of them, have switched offices. So we're gonna get into that in just a moment. However, the three-party chairman, Katrín Jakobsdóttir, leader of the Left Greens, is still Prime Minister. Sigurður Ingi Jóhannsson, the leader of the Progressive Party, is still Minister of Transportation and Local Government Affairs, and Bjarni Benediktsson, leader of the Independence Party, is still Minister of Finance. And I think I read somewhere that he is on a track of becoming one of the longest serving ministers of finance in Iceland's history. So I'll put the information on where he stands, if that's true or not, on screen. But that's pretty impressive, all things considered. As for the other ministers, well, Þórdís Kolbrún Gylfadóttir Reykfjörð, fucking long name. Anyway, she is no longer Minister of Industry and Tourism, but she now serves as Minister of Foreign Affairs, versus the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Guðlaugur Þór something, Gunnlaugsson, I think. Anyway, he is now going to be serving as Minister of the Environment. Now, I'm very surprised by that, because Guðlaugur Þór was very popular as Minister of Foreign Affairs, as far as I know. He is very much a moderate within the Independence Party. It makes a lot of sense, considering that the Left Greens are the only major party which are anti-Iceland being a part of NATO. So obviously the Left Greens would have not stood for there being some extreme right-wing US cocksucking Minister of Foreign Affairs. So no, obviously. So yeah, they went with the moderate, and like I said, as far as I know, he is across the board just seen as a pretty popular Minister of Foreign Affairs. So yeah, hopefully he'll do equally well in his new post as Minister of the Environment. The outgoing Minister of the Environment, Guðmundur Ingi Guðbrandsson, who is the Vice Chair of the Left Greens, well, it's like, yeah, the Left Greens absolutely loved him, versus the rest of the country sort of hated him. In fact, I believe he had the second lowest approval rating of any government ministers throughout most of his career. So yeah. Guðmundur Ingi is going to be Minister of Social Affairs and Employment. Yeah, the way things worked with like government ministries in Iceland is that when coalition governments are formed, it's like sometimes the parties can not agree on which party gets what ministry, so they will sometimes divide the ministries into smaller sections. Like there is currently no Ministry of Welfare. There is a Ministry of Health, but that does not cover the whole welfare system. So some of it is going to be covered by, like insurance matters are now going to be covered by Guðmundur Ingi, yeah, versus Vilhum Thor is going to be Minister of Health. He's taking over from Svandís Svavarsdóttir, who is going to take over as Minister of Fisheries and Agriculture. Yeah, the former Minister of Fisheries and Agriculture was of course Kristján Þór Júlíusson, who I've mentioned once or twice in my videos, partially because he was by far, by a mile and a half, the most disliked government ministers we've had in recent years. He had an approval rating of around 8% when he left office, so yeah. He did not even seek re-election just, as an MP, no. He decided to in his own words, take a very long, chilled out break from politics. Part of the reason why he is so, why he was so unpopular is because, well, he was involved in those fish rot scandals. If you remember what those were, yeah, I think by now, because of the pandemic and everything else horrible that has happened, most Icelanders have sort of forgotten, but yeah, we had this like major scandal revelation in late 2019, I think, revolving around, yeah, a major fishing industry company called Samherji, of which Kristján Þór Júlíusson used to be the chairman, now largest share. He was a big guy at Samherji, that's the moral of the story, and he's also very well known for having sold away lots of the fishing quota from Ísafjörður, which is, by Icelandic standards, a very large town in the West Fjords, and yeah, that cost a lot of people in Ísafjörður their jobs, so the population growth of Ísafjörður pretty much stagnated. In large part due to Kristján Þór Júlíusson, so yeah, definitely a very unpopular guy, and I think it's definitely a step up that he is no longer involved in politics. One of the biggest points of disagreement in this coalition was between, obviously, the Independence Party and the Left Greens about matters of healthcare. So the Independence Party, shockingly, supports having a degree of privatizing the healthcare system to a point, not a full privatization takeover, but to have private firms sort of, loosen some of the burdens of the nationally run healthcare system, so to make, so that the public system can focus only on the big important things, versus things that are, less critical can be pawned off by smaller firms who are just contracted by the national health system. And of course the Left Greens want to go into the exact opposite reason, where everything is run and operated by the government. And healthcare costs did go down under the Left Greens, however, waiting lists and other things got longer. So, obviously the pandemic obscured a little bit whether or not the left-green approach was successful or not. Well, basically the Left Greens and the Independence Party were in a full agreement that they didn't want the other one to be in charge of the healthcare system, so they could both agree that the Progressive Party should take over this responsibility. And the Progressive Party overall supports, like a very strong nationally run and funded healthcare system, but is not opposed to the idea of, pawning some of the responsibilities off to private contract companies. Okay, I hope I don't have to explain healthcare any further. It's pretty fun. Actually, yeah, you could summarize this whole government coalition in a nutshell by stating that the Independence Party really wants to work with the Progressive Party, the Left Greens really want to work with the Progressive Party, they just have to, accept, the other guy in the room, in order for this to work. And the Progressive Party equally wants to work with both of them, so yeah, this whole thing just sort of works out perfectly. As for other ministries, well, Áslaug Sigurbjörnsdóttir used to be Minister of Justice. Remember, I made a video about that. She was 28 years old when she became a government minister. Anyway, Áslaug is going to become Minister of Innovation and Industry. Jón Gunnarsson of the Independence Party will become Minister of Justice in her place. Lilja Alfreðsdóttir used to be the Minister of Education. She will now be the Minister of Commerce and Culture. Two strange things to have in the same ministry, but whatever. And I think finally that only leaves us Ásmund Einar Daði, who used to be Minister of Social Affairs, was very popular in that post. Anyway, he is now gonna be the Minister of Education and Children Affairs. Let's just call it Minister of Education, that's fine. And I think that counts, and I think that includes all of the cabinet ministers. Well, next I'm gonna do a video about the governing treaty that these three parties have made in between themselves, so basically what they want to do in the next 4 years. I was gonna make this one single video where I just briefly touch upon the new cabinet and then I would go over the governing treaty. However, I realized that upon filming this, just talking about all the ministers, just that it took way longer than I had anticipated, and I have no idea how long this is going to be once I edit it. So yeah, this is just going to be its own video. So yeah, I hope you liked it. I hope you liked this particular video and the one that's upcoming. Like and subscribe, and as I said, add me on Twitter. Not that I plan on being very active there, but I have it, so yeah. Takk ykkur kærlega fyrir að horfa og bara njótið dagsins. Bye!